I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome everybody to the public portion of our meeting tonight. We've been in exec session and I have a different looking agenda in front of me, which actually the printing's smaller and I'm having trouble reading it. But we've called to order and we're out of exec and we've done the pledge. Any modifications to the agenda? I didn't see. The personnel reports were as attached and no changes, and what wonders never see. So we'll keep moving. And public comment period. I don't know, Chris, you've got a few people.
I think I've got a threefer.
Opportunity for folks in the room to talk to us, talk to the community. We're on tape, and go ahead, Chris.
So I've got three names: Daniel, I apologize, Peggy Weber, and Lizzie Banassa. Hello, Lizzie. Hey. And if I understand correctly, all the talking.
Yep.
Excellent.
So I'm Miss Rottenstein, and this is Miss Weber. These are our students, Lizzie and Wyatt, and we're from Caroline Elementary.
Excellent.
And we just came to talk to you a little bit about our buddy program that we do. We've been working together for 5 years, and our K-Buddies have gone from a place of literature base and just having our buddies read to them, and now they've really transformed into learning buddies. So I'm going to give the floor to Lizzie, and she's going to explain kind of the process that we did with it.
So what we did was we certified our school as a wildlife habitat. We did this with our K-Buddies, and it was really cool that we got to do this. And it was really fun, and we got to learn the science first, and then we taught it to our K-Buddies, because our science is the same thing, just a little simpler for the K-Buddies. And we did this. So first, we learned our science, and then we taught our kindergarten buddies how to take pictures with the iPad, which was really fun. And so we took pictures with the iPad of food, cover, water, and a place to raise young. And so then the 5th graders, we made like prove it pages. So we got to, yeah.
Okay, right. So this is Wyatt's prove it page. Yeah. Oh, no. What was something you saw?
I saw a leopard slug and 2 salamanders.
That's some examples of food, right? Or other animals. Awesome. Was there anything else that you thought was really cool? No. Okay.
And so once we did our proof of pages,
When you're done, you're done. I mean, mic drop. It's okay.
So we all came together in our room and we certified our school. So this is me and my buddy. So we got to go up. We took turns, like,
All of us.
yeah, we all went up and pressed the buttons, I guess, for like our to certify our school. And so yeah, my K-Buddies was really excited about that. He really liked it. And then we wrote a letter to our PTA asking for money for our awesome sign. And so yeah.
They said yes.
So now we have our sign for our leaders for
So we just wanted to say we took on this project to get our Wilderness Campus Trail nationally certified so that we know that we have this treasure in our backyard, but we wanted to let everyone else know that we have this treasure. What a wonderful experience it was to see the older children teaching the younger children and how much fun they had and how much they enjoyed it. And also how great it was that they had accomplished getting our campus certified. And it's something, a goal that they really worked on. And we also appreciate our PTA who funded the money for the application as well as the plaque that we will be receiving. And once we get the plaque, we will present it to our school and bring it on board. And we wanted to let you guys have this poster and just keep it so that you can see the work that we've been doing.
And it is the National Wildlife Federation.
Right. Certified through the National Wildlife Federation. Very good. Very good.
Thanks.
Thank you. That's great. I'm glad Wyatt knows how to take a picture with his iPad because I do not, so he's ahead of me. Oh, he's in kindergarten. But that's right. Chris, anybody else?
No, that is it.
Anyone else wish to speak that is in the room? Ed first and then the back.
Sure. And I do know there are a few teachers who might want to say something, so I'll just be quick. I'm not sure if I brought this up last time. I can't remember if it from meeting to meeting. 2 teachers in the school district have been recognized as Apple for the teacher, Patricia Prashetta at DeWitt and Jennifer Healy at Cuda Heights. So 2 of our colleagues are being recognized. And as you can see, there were Caroline teachers here presenting tonight, and you'll be seeing some from Enfield are on the agenda presenting. And it just kind of shows you that the amount of work, the time, the commitment that teachers are putting in for our students and the families here in the Ithaca City School District. Again, we are just kind of saying, we want to make sure that the board is making a concerted effort to make sure that that effort and all that time that we put in is known, and that can be done by a respectful and fair contract settlement. And now I will let my colleagues speak.
Please go ahead.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Phil Jordan. I teach at the high school. I'm also the social studies department leader. I just wanted to make sure the board was aware of what's been, to me, as department leader, a disturbing trend in the social studies department. We're a 14-person department. In the last 3 months, 3 of my colleagues have resigned to take higher positions. 2 have actually resigned. One's announced her intention to resign before the end of this month to take higher paid positions elsewhere. The conversation around the lunch table at the high school right now is whether or not the person that somebody knows at Vessel is actually going to retire or not, because apparently the starting salary for teachers at Vessel is more than many of my tenured colleagues make. We're also waiting with bated breath for the teacher at Lansing to resign, so that because teachers at Lansing also make about $10,000 more. I know one of my colleagues who resigned this year went to Union Springs with a pay increase of $15,000. That's a bit of a commute, but I could pay for a pretty nice SUV to drive to Union Springs for $15,000 a year. So as department leader, I'm not going anywhere. I'm Ithaca bound. My kids go to school here. I think to me that represents a disturbing trend, not only as department leader, but when I think about my kids who are coming here and coming up to the school system. Teaching is hard, and it takes a long time to learn to do well. And I won't claim to learn to do it well, but we need to, as that sign says, attract and retain quality teachers. And when 3 out of 14 teachers leave, and some of our best teachers are looking to leave and looking at salaries elsewhere, that scares me not only as a department leader, but also as a parent. A parent of a Caroline Elementary student, one of Lizzie and Maggie's classmates, and a parent of a high school sophomore. And I hope that we can find a way to change that curve before my younger child gets to high school.
Anyone else at this time?
If I could, I just want to echo what Phil said. I'm Steve Weisberg. I teach in the math department. I've been there for 24 years. This year I lost a colleague and a friend to another school. Someone who's been here for 10 years, very talented, and left for a higher paying job and increased her salary by more than $10,000 by going to another district locally. I also want to share my experience with my student teacher, because we try to bring quality people into the school also. And I had a student teacher last year from Ithaca College who was outstanding. And at the end of the year, I said, you know, we're going to have some openings at the high school. Are you interested in applying? And she laughed. She actually laughed and said, why would I apply to Ithaca, Steve? She said, I've gotten job offers from 5 different districts in the area, and all of them offer me more than $7,000 above the starting salary at Ithaca. Ithaca is like one of the few districts left that has a starting salary below $40,000. You're talking about people who have gone through college, they have student loans, they are trying to start a life, and we are losing opportunities. This student teacher was someone who had presented at the New York State Teachers Association. She had great skills, and we are not attracting these people anymore. We're interviewing right now for a position, and there's 1 applicant. And that is a dangerous trend. We talk about being a world-class school. You cannot be world-class when people aren't interested in teaching in your district anymore. And I also have students in the district, and I am worried. I've seen this trend now for several years. We are losing quality teachers, and we are not attracting the sort of people that we are losing. We get lucky sometimes and we find someone, but that's luck. When you look at the pools that we are interviewing, there's no comparison to what we used to get 5 or 10 years ago. And I'm really concerned about where this is heading. So I just wanted to share that with the board, because I feel like we're not all aware of the situation that we are in. And we've seen the data. We are not at the top of the curve here. We are at the bottom of the list in terms of salaries statewide. And you look at every district in this region, Trumansburg, Lansing, Groton, Spencer, everywhere around here is offering more than we offer. So we can't call ourselves world-class and keep doing that. We're not going to be world-class if we don't have quality teachers.
And it would also be, if folks do want to speak, it's great if you can sign in so we have an idea of how many wish to speak. But we'll keep going.
Okay, hi, I'm Paula Kills. I teach Northeast Elementary School. And I just want to say that this year we started the school year out with several openings. And one of them was an ESL teacher. And we had a qualified person and the job was offered to them, but they didn't take it because they were offered a higher paying job in another district. It was October before we got someone in there who could stay for the rest of the year, and it's not a certified ESL teacher. The person's doing a great job, but not a certified teacher. We started the year out without a librarian because we couldn't find a librarian. I think we have to take note that fewer and fewer people are looking to Ithaca as a place where they want to work. And that the reason for that, big reason for that, is we have quality schools here, but we don't have the salaries to match the other school districts. So I think we need to start thinking about that.
Keep going around the room.
Bob Walters, I'm department head and technology education teacher up at DeWitt Middle School. And I had a student teacher a couple years ago, and he was fabulous. And we had an opening at the high school where the teachers left the technology department, and he contacted me. He was interested in the job, and he never applied. And it's such a shame because he was such a great teacher. And I'm sure that salary was a big part of his decision. This is my 33rd year teaching in the district. My kids went through Ithaca. My son just got a job. He makes more than I make, starting salary. And I'm in the bottom 2.2 percentile in the state for my salary. And I love Ithaca. And this is a fabulous school district. It's a fabulous school. It's diverse. But, you know, if I was to start over, I wouldn't be able to stay here. And it's a real shame that, you know, the great thing I get to say is, oh gosh, I teach in Ithaca. I don't get paid well for it, but I teach in Ithaca. And it's a real shame, and it's something that the school board ought to do something about.
You have your list, Adam. Are there others, or is that it?
It's up to them, but I think the message has been made.
Very good. On to student reps. Well, Ithaca High, since, go ahead, Jim.
So, IHS is hosting a canned food drive. It started December 1st and it goes until winter break. It's sponsored by Link Crew and partnered with the Family Liaison Office. The food is then the food donated will be put together with turkeys donated by the staff to make holiday food baskets for IHS families in need. Anything left over is donated to food pantries that might have open space. And then the conference All-State had a successful weekend with the IHS choir and band. It was very fun. They played great music, and everybody actually loved them. And the craft fair will be held December 18th in activities all throughout the school day. Student clubs and local artisans will have stalls set up to sell delicious foods and trinkets that are perfect for the upcoming winter holidays. Musicians will also be playing to give a good atmosphere to the area. Also, I've heard that Santa will drop by for a little meet and greet, so make sure to stop by and check out to see what Ithaca has to offer.
We have a lot going on this Wednesday. Model UN Club is holding a fundraiser at Chipotle, where 50% of the purchases will go to fund the club from 3 to 6. This is also in combination with Yogurtland, which is offering 15% of the proceeds to Model UN for the same price. So that should be a wonderful way for the club to make money, garner some new revenue, which should be good. And we also have the orchestra concert on Wednesday at 7:30, with the band concert following this Sunday at 2, the usual cookies and cider reception afterwards. Also in terms of entertainment, we have 2 movie nights this week, with Spirited Away being shown by the Asian American Club Thursday after school, and Mean Girls for Swiss also being shown on Friday. And the most important news as it pertains to this section, as it was Connor's favorite part of the health curriculum and one topic he loved to talk to the board about, was the Ready or Not tots being rolled out in health class. Today we saw the first tots being intermingled with the students in health class. Students got acclimatized to different tots, the crying, the regular interlays of being a parent. And soon we'll be taking them home for the regular nightly to more than nightly parenting training course, as it were. Now, we'd love to talk about, this is a wonderful health class and lovely experience for students to learn what it is to be a parent, what it is to be woken up at 1 a.m. by a crying child and have to feed it with a key, because it's not a real baby and it's a little bit easier, but it's quite stressful. So the halls will soon be filled with the cries of child, and I'm sure class will be disrupted, but it'll be a great time.
Scared straight, Matt. Anything else at the guy?
No, that is all.
Thanks, gentlemen. LACS?
Yeah, so I don't know if you're aware, but every Monday and Friday, after second period, before third period, we have a morning meeting, and I lead this with other students, and it's a time for people to make announcements. And this past Friday, like, we usually end the meeting with a joke, because I'm really funny and I'm good at that. But this past Friday, instead we ended with a moment of silence for the people who passed away in the San Bernardino shooting, and people at LACS have been talking about that and reflecting on mass shootings in general. Because if you look at the statistics, it's definitely something worth talking about.
Okay, so recently our site-based council dispersed funds for projects put on by staff and students. So this is anywhere from $100 to $1,000 to do any kind of project that will benefit our school community. And then also, last Thursday, we had our Pasta Dinner, which is an annual fundraising and community building event. It was at the IHS Cafe, actually, so that was very nice. And at that time, we also had performances. We had performance of Shakespeare and of our school play, which Josh will talk about.
Yeah, so the Shakespeare performed promoting their play that happened the weekend after the spaghetti dinner, the day after, and that weekend. It was 12th night. Lucas and I saw it was a great show, but notably the most important part about the show is that it was completely student-run. There were student directors, student tech, teachers were not involved, which isn't a problem, but this is, how do I put this? Like, I've been a part of shows with teachers there and also been a part of the student-run program, and it's incredible to see how professional they can be, and they put on a great show.
And then this weekend, our school drama program is putting on the 25th annual Putnam County Spelling Bee. So that is Friday and Saturday at 7 p.m. and Sunday at 2 in the LACS Black Box Theater. You're all invited. It'll be a great show.
Yeah. So I don't know if you're aware, but tonight is the third night of Hanukkah. And over this past fall, we've had a school on many high holidays. I've had to make some hard choices between practicing Judaism with my family at shul or going to school. I have chosen to miss school this past year because my faith is important to me. Because we are in a district that cares about diversity, I hope we can address this issue in later meetings, which affects more families, which affects many families, both teachers and students alike, in the district. Thank you.
Well, thank you guys. I'm not sure we ever took off school for Hanukkah. That's a new one on me.
I was talking about the holidays. Hanukkah is fine.
Yeah.
It's 8 days,
yeah,
so
okay. The other one's okay,
today.
Gotcha. I was thinking Hanukkah. Board responses. Anyone wish to respond to anything at all? Brad, go ahead.
Sure, be happy to. Appreciate the teachers being here this evening. I think we've said many times how much we appreciate the teachers' work. I will tell you that we've been working hard for a settlement with your union, have been diligently at it, and have gone through many different iterations with them. At this point, we're down to a question of whether to offer you health care choice or not. Your union does not want you to have choice. And that's where they want you to be. They don't feel that you can make a choice. I think that's unfortunate that's where we are, but that's what it's come down to at this point. So let you know that we are working on it, and we appreciate everything you do every day.
Anyone else? Other responses? I will certainly add my 2 cents. Certainly, it's been difficult over the last multiple years to increase salaries as much as we would like as a board. We're looking at a $23 million bill that was sucked out of this district by the state. That is hard to make up. We've been deficit spending for 5 years or so. We run our fund balances down to about to the minimum amount, trying to maintain jobs, trying to maintain programming, maintain the number of teachers we do have in the district. We have not tried to do wholesale layoffs as other districts have done. Try to keep class sizes where we expect them to be in Ithaca. Certainly want to work with all our unions, all the staff, all our teachers to continue to do what we do in Ithaca. We're looking at a 0% tax levy starting point this year. In order to do dramatic increases in salary, we would have to go to the district, we'd have to go to the community multiple years to override the tax levy. So that's a supermajority for multiple years. It's not our rules, it's New York State's rules. So, we have not had to do a contingency budget in this district as far as I can remember. That would get ugly. If we do not, we need the community on board. It's great to ask us for more money. It's your neighbors. They're the ones that pay your salary. Over 70% of what we spend in this district comes from your neighbors, comes from the local community, not from New York City, not from Albany, not from anywhere else. So we have to work for, excuse me, I'm sorry I gave everybody else a chance to speak. I'm sorry if I can't have a minute. I'm just telling you what we have to deal with, in order to put a budget together. And we will continue to work to do that. And I will cede the floor to anyone else. Any other board responses? Appreciate having the opportunity to speak without being interrupted. So we'll move on. If there are no other board responses, we will go on at the consent agenda.
I'll move the consent as presented.
Second.
Any questions? It does appear a little different but board docs. You're going to talk about board docs, Dr. Brown. Takes a minute to scroll through. Any questions? Comments? Anyone? All right. Move seconded, correct? All in favor? That's everyone. We are minus Jen Curley and Sean Eversley Bradwell, and Judy Maxwell is no longer on the board. So we're an 8-member board right now out of a 9-member group. And Dr. Brown, we are ready.
Thank you for that.
Your comments,
Sandy, and I will turn over most of my time to Ms. Hillman, and she's going to talk about board docs. But quickly, I wish for everyone to take a look around the room and up and around the hallways, as we wish to thank Ms. Callie Bryan and her DeWitt Middle School class for supplying the artwork that's up in this building. There was an outstanding student art show today. Families came in, siblings came in, grandparents came in. It was a fun time to enjoy cookies and look at the artwork, and I learned a lot about our young people by what they did. So just take an opportunity to walk around and look at what our young people have produced under the leadership of Ms. Bryan and some of the outstanding work happening at DeWitt Middle School. We have some other young people, including Abia, who's not here tonight, who will be on a panel on Tuesday evening, along with some outstanding teachers and some community members. There will be a panel that will be after the free screening of Most Likely to Succeed. We're one of the few communities in the country that was chosen to screen this film that's speaking about the history of public education and what's going to be the future of public education. I haven't had a chance to view it yet. I hope to see it before we show it live, as I will be moderating the conversation amongst teachers, students, and community members after the film. So I hope everyone can find some time. Childcare will be provided to come out on Tuesday evening from 6 to about 8 o'clock, 8:15, as we have a community conversation about a film that is generating a lot of conversation around the country. And with that, I wish to turn it over to someone else to talk about technology for a change. Ms. Hillman wants to talk about board docs.
So anyone who normally picks up an agenda for the meeting saw that the agenda looks a little different. This is being generated through a new platform called Board Docs. In the past, we've made accessible by the community through Dropbox our minutes, our agendas, our schedules for our meetings, any of those attachments, personnel reports through Dropbox. We're shifting away from Dropbox to Board Docs, which is going to manage our meetings. We will embed all of those attachments within the agendas. We just started using it this month. The staff that would feed into it have been trained. The board has been trained. We had a trainer come from the company to help us with it, and it's set up. Our policies are also going to be embedded in there. So this month is pretty much going to be a lot of filling all of that information into the new platform. Dropbox is still accessible. All the archive data, digital files are all still there. They will be transferred into Board Docs over a period of time. If you have problems or questions, I am available to answer them, but to access it on the new website, you go to the Board of Education page. All of the Dropbox items are still there. The links are underneath the photos and the pictures. There's still links to Dropbox, but on the far left-hand side, there's a link that says Board Docs. You click on that, and that will take you to the most recent meetings. All of the meetings for the month of December are going to be done through Board Docs, our committee meetings as well. And I am in the process of transferring all of this year's minutes into that system as well. Last year's items will be kind of consolidated, but you'll also see those in there. It'll be a searchable system. The items will be saved in there as a searchable PDF. So you will have access to search for particular things through that. I think it's going to be a lot easier for everyone to use. What you're going to see primarily different when we have our board meetings, and we're hoping to go public with it December 22nd, is we're going to have, I don't know if the TV will stay in the same location, but we're going to have what's called a scoreboard that will be scrolling the agenda items. I will control that, and you will be able to see on here where we are on the agenda. And the board members have graciously agreed to participate in the electronic voting. So they will have their devices, and when we go to a vote, they will actually vote on that, and it's going to automatically record it and will show the audience the vote. So you'll have that recorded and on there.
I agree with that.
Graciously.
Apparently, okay.
So
I went to the training. It was
we're still in a growing phase. We're still figuring out formats and what works and looks the best for everyone. So please allow for that growth period. But I'm hoping my target is to be fully embedded and engaged with Board Docs by the beginning of the new year, January 4th, when we come back.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Anthony.
Wow.
We're done.
Thanks, Jonathan. Great. You've done a heck of a job with trying to convert us yet again to a paperless system. And everybody seems to be leaving, but I really would like to hear from Enfield and Lisa Rieger and your team. Doing great work out in Enfield, and it would be great to be able to hear from you right now. The folks that are leaving probably are missing out on what a very good update from Enfield.
I'm going to just say one more. So I'm just going to do a quick introduction. You can see this is some fabulous staff from Enfield, and you've probably heard me come up and other teachers speak for the last couple of years about expeditionary learning. And we've been dabbling in some of the principles in expeditionary learning and structures and working curriculum. We had some money in our title funds this year, and Lisa Rieger worked with a representative from Expeditionary Learning to develop a year-long plan that we supported through our title grant. And it was teacher-built and teacher-led, and they're going to take it from here.
All right. Thanks. I'm going to stand up. So I'm Lisa Rieger. I'm principal at Enfield Elementary. Just want to thank you for inviting us, first of all. I brought some folks with me tonight. I have Brian Goodman, teaches 5th grade. Josh Drazen, teaches 3rd grade. Laura Larkin teaches 1st grade, and Chris Rexis, who teaches kindergarten. So just wanted to introduce them all. And if you could go to the next slide, please. As Liddy said, we kind of had this fabulous opportunity to partner with EL Education this year. And with the support of Ithaca City School District, we actually worked with them, and they were flexible enough with us to let us design our own professional development with them. So we didn't buy a package. We kind of said to them, as I've learned since I've been in Ithaca, like, we kind of want to do this our way a little bit. And if you can work with us, we think that we can come up with something pretty cool to do something pretty awesome with our kids. So basically, EL Education has a book. It's called Leaders of Their Own Learning, where they talk about student-engaged assessment practices. That's a really fancy way of saying, how can we get our students to have more ownership, to be more engaged, to really know not what they're doing, but what they're learning and why they're learning it. And that seems a little bit, maybe not like a big deal, but it is a big deal. We found when we talk to a lot of our kids, they can tell you what they're doing. You know, I'm doing my math, I'm doing my addition, I'm making my poster. But when it came to asking them, like, what are you learning? Not so clear sometimes for some of them. So in order to begin, we are working with a consultant. Her name is Anne. She can't be with us tonight. She's great. The staff really appreciate her. She showed us this at a teacher's retreat this summer. And we talked a lot about a word that a lot of us don't like to talk about in education, and that is failure. And we reflected on that quite a bit. Like, why are we so afraid of, what are we most afraid of sometimes as teachers? And it's failure. And we're even more afraid of, like, sometimes giving a kid that moment, right, when they fail. So we really had to talk about that and come to grips with that. And from that, if you want to go to the next slide, we created what we're calling, is one of the practices, you'll hear staff talk about it in a minute, a learning target. And a long-term learning target for all people who work in buildings for this year. And this is what we're going for. Travels on every staff memo I send out, comes up in every faculty meeting right at the beginning. I'm pretty sure some of them can recite it in their sleep. I can create a culture of continuous improvement that supports high-quality student work. So we first of all had to be okay with going on this journey ourselves. And teachers, as you're going to hear, had a lot of voice and choice, took a lot of risk, experimenting with some new practices, trying some different things. We also had to work at making it okay for our kids that maybe they didn't get it the first time. You know, so and seeing that failure is an opportunity to try again, part of being successful. So really specifically, because when we met with Anne, we had really big ideas of what we wanted to do, and we asked her advice. We said, so, like, this is what we want to go for, and she said, you have to back up. She said, you have to get some really foundational practices into your learning spaces. I get you want to get to the juicy stuff like school-wide celebrations of learning. You want to do teacher-led conferences. You want to do, student portfolios. She said, in a lot of EL schools, we spend years trying to nail some of these specific practices. And sometimes they're not all that flashy, as we've talked in some of our faculty meetings, but to do them intentionally, consistently, every lesson, every day, is what we're going for here. So yeah, they do sound a lot like good practices, but I think at Enfield, the consciousness has been raised. I hear teachers saying, I can't get to the debrief, I can't get to the learning target at the end of that lesson. I walked away today going, shoot, I didn't make it today, but I'm gonna make it tomorrow. So real specifically, we're going for learning targets, checks for understanding, speaking and listening protocols. So basically every teacher at Enfield knows what these things are. They've learned a little bit about them. They have each designed their own individualized professional development plan of how much of each of these they're going to take on, like over a 6-week period or an 8-week period. They're getting supported by Anne and myself. So they've set their own goals in doing these things. So I'm just going to give you a real quick rundown of what each are. These folks are here to bring them to life much better than I can, because they're doing it with our students. Learning targets. These are statements that are posted in every classroom about what it is kids are learning in kid-friendly language. They're of course lined with the Common Core. What do kids do? Well, we're going for right now. They can see them first of all. They know where they are in the classroom. They can say them. Unpack, as the word means, they can talk about what they mean. They can talk about what they don't understand. They can refer to them throughout the lesson. They can check on how they're doing at the end. That's the debrief. Okay? Checks for understanding, just ways, and there's a lot of them. I mean, the most popular one at Enfield sometimes is the thumbometer, right? Like, how are you doing? Like, thumbs up if I'm good to go. I'm not so sure. Don't get this. Okay? So just different ways throughout a lesson that students can communicate to teachers how they're doing. Sometimes it's about the learning. Sometimes it's about their attitude and their confidence, which is also really important, about how they're feeling about their learning. Speaking and listening protocols. This is about getting kids out of their seats. Something we can't do enough of. Getting them up, getting them moving, getting them talking to learning partners in different groups about what they're learning, sharing their ideas, teaching them how to have those learning conversations that we want them to have. Yeah. So I'm not going to read these next 2 slides to you. Basically, they're just to show that everybody has a job to do. Students, teachers, myself, and Anne. So I'm going to highlight some of the cool things that teachers have done I've already talked a little bit about, having an opportunity to have their own individualized professional development plan supported by Anne. Right now, we're only 4 months into this. So we're kind of gauging their goal on her next visit. So like by your next visit, what do you want to accomplish with learning targets? What do you think you can do in your classroom with checks for understanding? They like it. They also have learning partners. They have a colleague, their choice, they pick. They check in bi-weekly with their colleague. There's no way I as a principal can micromanage this, nor do I want to. They're talking with each other about what's working, what's not, where they want to go. I have staff in different places with this work. I have some it's brand new to. I have some that have been at it for a couple of years. They can learn from each other, and they're doing it. Learning walks. This is a big one for us. Very cool. We're doing one next Wednesday. So board, if you want to come out and check it out. It's basically teams of teachers do a building-wide walkthrough. We try to visit every single classroom, and we have these look-fors of these practices. How's it looking? What do we see? We sit with a kid and say, what are you learning today? And as a school, afterwards, we debrief. Anne has showed us how to write a very positive letter with some information about what we see and what questions we have. So staff, interestingly enough, the people who walked were so excited. Teachers had no idea how some of this stuff was taking shape in other classrooms. They don't realize sometimes how isolated they are. I can tell them that amazing things are happening in the building with some of these initiatives, but until they go and look at it and talk with each other and praise each other or are inspired by each other, then it sort of really comes to life. Our kids, their job is to hopefully let us try this out on them. So they're engaged in reading the learning targets, trying to take a role when we do a speaking and listening protocol, trying to show their teachers how they're doing with their learning, what they're doing. We've got some clips to show you. That's the best way I could think of. I don't want to tell you. I just want you to see it. So next slide. Anne's been a wonderful, wonderful support to us. She led a teacher's retreat prior to the start of school. Tried to get from myself and the staff what we wanted to go for, how we wanted to go for it. She offers support when she comes. Teachers have a lot of choice. They can just have a check-in with her, which is a 15-20 minute, how's it going? They can have a coaching session when she comes, which means she'll come in and look at something, look at a teacher trying a practice out with students and get some feedback. So that's scheduled. That's something I've learned how to schedule. Every teacher has contact when she comes. As a leader, I have to tell you, I email Anne, I get a response back in an hour. Even if it's, I'll look at this tomorrow. I've got it. I'm learning a lot from her too. Part of it is providing support to a principal as a leader with learning how to facilitate some of this work. So my job really, I say my job in this is to walk the talk. So, I need to support teachers, and I do, in actualizing what they're going for. I talk to kids about the practices. It takes time, moving resources around so that we can do things like school-wide learning walks, continue our professional development, faculty meetings. I modeled new checks for understanding. I modeled new speaking and listening protocols with them. They tell me how they feel about them afterwards, which can be a lot of fun. We set learning targets, so I'm trying to show them, how this, all the time, how this can look and translate. And of course, leading celebrations of learning. Next slide. So what we put together for you are just some clips of these practices, and I'm going to let the teachers share with you what they see their kids doing and maybe a little bit about their own professional plans this year.
Cool. So I'm Brian. I teach 5th grade at Enfield, and we've been working a lot just on the first step of this whole piece, which is learning targets. It's really for us like how kids can tell the story of their learning. So all of this is about the story, and you're going to see in a little bit of a video, you're going to see kids being able to talk about where they are now in their learning and kind of the overall scope of a project. So you'll see daily learning targets and long-term learning targets, and that's so powerful because the kid can then talk about where are they going and begin to have an audience for their story of their year and their story of their projects.
You ready?
So yeah, I am ready. Thanks.
So we have changed the learning targets a bit, and we want to make sure that you understand what the difference is from what we're going to be focusing on now. So we have them up here, so they're easier to see here on the board, but I want to make sure we go over them, we unpack them, and understand what the difference is from what we had before. Okay, so can somebody read this first learning target, and then we'll make corrections on when we unpack it. We'll go over words we don't know. Ashley, you want to go ahead?
I can write a
Persuasive.
Advocating for a management solution to reach.
Okay, read it one more time now that you know the words are persuasive and advocating. Read the whole thing again for the class.
I write a persuasive essay advocating for a management solution to a problem.
Nice job, thank you. What words don't you know? Okay, what words don't you know? Ashley. Okay, let's talk about what persuasive means. Have you heard, hold on just a minute, have you heard of the word persuade? You've heard of, maybe some of you have heard of the word persuade? Okay, persuade or to be persuasive, we're talking about the same thing. So what does that mean? You know what persuade means? Think about that for a minute. Yeah, convincing. So Mr. Grumman's going to take note of it here. I'm going to take note of it here, where we keep these permanently. For you guys to keep looking at. Persuasive is convincing. What does it mean to convince, Damon? Everybody hear that? What do you say, Damien? Yeah, that's what it means to convince or to persuade. Tatiana?
Like, you know, you want them to join and help with our community.
That's right. We want that audience, whoever it is that's listening to us, to feel, is that what you said, to feel it and to want to go out and do it. Mr. Goodman?
And so below that is the word advocating. And advocating is not a typical 5th grade word, but it's a word we should know. We've used it a little bit this year. Does anybody know what that might mean? Advocating? To advocate for something? I see some of the tentative hands. So there's a word in here that reminds me of this word. Do you know what that means? I put a word up there that I think is what it means. The word is vocal. I see more hands, so let's start with that. And then, where have you heard that word? Or what does it mean? Or maybe you're having that feeling more like you recognize it, like I recognize that. What does that word vocal mean? You know? Oh yeah, voice. So actually, when we say advocating, the students to voice, to give voice to call out. So we're trying to write a persuasive, a convincing essay that helps to give voice, to speak to a management solution, to HWA. Right? So we want to say that our management solution is the best. We want others to believe us, and we want others to shout out about it, to shout out in their voice. So what if I just want to tell somebody? Like if I said, you know what the best movie I saw was recently? It was The Good Dinosaur. That would be me persuading you. But I would have to be really persuasive to make you say, wow, I think the best movie is The Good Dinosaur. Like you'd be giving voice to that opinion. We want to be so persuasive that our audience has the same thing we do. Okay? So that's our big learning part that we're going to focus on right up until our presentation. We're going to be working on this for the next 3 weeks, writing this essay.
Cool. So awesome. So a couple things in there. We unpack learning targets every day. This one took a long time. It was a huge long-term target, and we had to make sure the kids knew what they were doing. But typically we'll have words there that not every kid knows, but that we want them to aspire to and to master. So a real success story was just today, we had a guest speaker come in, and he began talking about different people advocating for this issue. And a student spoke up and said, we're advocating for this in our essays. Like, that's exactly what we're doing, which was that had been on the wall for like 3 weeks. So they, at this point, had owned that term. They had owned the idea of a management solution. So they're owning the language of the class, and then when they go out, they can be more powerful citizens. To us, that's huge. And to us, it's a big part of telling their stories. So eventually, like the long term of this is hopefully within a year or 2 years, as our school works into, hey, kids are presenting at conferences to their parents, or kids are leading walks of their own learning, they have these powerful words. They know what they're doing. They know where they are in their story. They know where their story of learning started and where it ended that year. And to us, like, that's the huge goal, and that's really what we want from kids. So it takes that work every day to get these phrases broken apart, but by the end they actually own it. And if you just put it up on the wall and you don't touch it, they won't look at it. It'll be like wallpaper. It's worse than wallpaper. So it's actually it's so helpful to do that. We already start to see them own their learning. It's huge. Actually, it's huge.
All right, hi everybody. My name's Josh. I teach 3rd grade. I'll keep this quick. In the video you're about to see, my 3rd graders are engaging in a peer review session. Everybody in my class is... We're just going.
I was going to
slow down over there. Everybody in my class is writing their own report on their own country around the world, and they're doing some research. And in this video, they're actually looking at another 3rd grader's report that they wrote on Spain. And they're hoping right here, the takeaway is that they can find 3 things in this report that they really liked, some strengths that they might want to adopt and include in their own reports, and also 3 things that they can improve upon and do better or maybe avoid. So by the end of it, be like, I really love this guy's introduction. I really want to grip my reader in that way, but there was no punctuation, so I might want to think about using some comments. The other thing you'll see really quick is just a check for understanding, where they're using different learning cards to just kind of convey where they're at with their teachers and sometimes also their peers or their learning partners. I'm ready now.
Our learning target for the day, I'm wondering if I have a volunteer to read. You can read that nice and loud. This guy, Kyle. Specific. All right, so before we go any further, let's talk about this learning target, okay? And I'm loving that everybody's eyes are here. Are there any important words in here that I should circle, that we need to talk about, that might be, beneficial to take some time to talk about? Red. Helpful. Okay, provide helpful. So, what do you think I mean by helpful behind it? So, you're tying it back to kind. So, let's actually take a step back. Let's talk about our project quickly. So,
in relation to the learning target, you're going to be reading an actual student's paper about Spain. Okay? They wrote a report about Spain. If you're going to be providing helpful feedback, what will you be giving the student? Something they can what? Let's talk about this. Something they can improve on, something they can actually use to improve on, right? Is there anything else before we move forward with our partners that we need to address? I just spoke with you. Can we go to Kyle? Sure. Kind. What do you mean by kind feedback?
Like, I could be like, say, say nice things about the picture.
Because how's your friend going to feel if you say, man, I'm looking at your writing, it is just horrible? How do you think you feel? Yeah, you probably feel horrible yourself. All right. Anything else before we jump into the activity? Yeah, McKenna, you had your hand up. Sure.
What about specific?
Yeah, what in the world do we mean by specifics?
So, like, you say, like, oh, you don't say, like, oh, that sounded good. You say, like, that's awesome, keep it up.
Okay, so I love that first part that Brandon said. You don't just look at this writing we're actually about to check out here and say, wow, that's really good. Because does that tell the person anything about their writing? You have to be specific, so you have to pinpoint, Brandon, what you're talking about. Something like, you did a nice job with your punctuation at the end of every sentence. You did a great job on your spelling and sounded out those difficult words. So in my hand, I have an actual report that a student wrote on a country. While you're reading through it, you're going to be doing our peer review handout. I have specific areas of focus. So in this one, you're going to be looking at mechanics. What did they do really well with their spelling, punctuation, capitalization, and what might they need to work on in that area? Down here, you're going to be specifically looking over here at the introduction and conclusion, what is already awesome, what could they work on, and the actual supporting details. Last material besides the pencils you'll need are these. And who can tell me what these are here? Red, what are these? Need any assistance? I'm rocking right through this and doing great. What if I'm flashing in yellow? I'm looking for a new face over here. Brandon?
I need a little help.
Little help, I'm a little stuck. I could probably persevere, but I hit a roadblock. What if I'm flashing this? And even though it's orange, we call it our red card, right? What does this mean, McKenna? So you guys seem to think that this writer did a really nice job with their punctuation. So you're going through and you're providing evidence, and then you might just jot down here what is already awesome. Okay. So. Where is this? Do you have evidence of him not providing full capital letters all the way through? Okay, so you're thinking that's a lowercase s? This person didn't use any transition words. So you might be able to put that down here in the details section. Okay, so before providing your details, what did they forget? They forgot their vocabulary words, right? Or their transition words, okay? So that's excellent.
They're great.
Okay.
They're great.
Thank you for watching that long clip. Actually, my students have been working on the peer review process for a really long time. We got started in September, and we started slow and we started small. We just started with pictures. So we actually started with pictures of apples, and we just tried to do our best scientific illustration of an apple, and from there we worked with partners to kind of slowly and incrementally improve it. In this draft, look at the stem. Just the stem. You know, in the next one, look at the shape of the apple. Now just focus on the coloring or the leaf. So we just took it step by step. The first piece of advice and the first feedback session we actually had was with an apple that I drew. This thing was hideous. It was just like an amorphous hot pink blob. It had an apple, it had a worm crawling out of it. The worm was wearing a top hat. Not very scientific at all. And the feedback that I found, it kind of ran the gamut. It ranged from Mr. Drazen, you know, you should be an artist, famous in a museum. And it also went to the other end of the spectrum, where it was just like, this is an absolute eyesore, take it off the board, please put it in the recycling bin. And so this initial session kind of led to the feedback process and how maybe we can make the feedback process a little better, a little smoother, a little more positive in some areas, and just overall more productive. So we had a lot of conversations about this, and we decided as a class that in the future, when we did feedback, we would focus and try to keep it kind, try to keep it helpful, and actually specific, and pinpoint specific areas. And now this is something that we do every time we do a piece of writing. These kids are actually working with partners and going through and providing this feedback. And just like we started with the apples, we started slow and we started small with the writing. So in this one, you know, just look at the mechanics, just look at the editing. In this piece, just look at the introduction and provide some feedback on that. And we're just getting into a space now where you can kind of go through the whole piece and talk about the introduction and the details and the conclusion. And it's been really successful. And just to kind of speak to the success, I actually looped up from 2nd grade to 3rd grade with this class. And last year, the editing process was definitely not this smooth. I mean, I would give them something really small sometimes to fix, like, hey, you know, buddy, you used the wrong form of the there. Go back and change that. And for this kid, it was like the end of days. You know, you hate my report, and we just let this one slide. This is absolutely awful. And it's getting to the point now where we're taking a writing piece and we're doing multiple drafts. And they're absolutely excited about it. And part of this is because of all of our conversations about perseverance and, you know, the importance of feedback and kind of working through some of this. And a lot of this is because it's not coming, you know, handed down from them from an adult. It's coming from a peer. It's coming from a table mate who's providing this advice. And that's really important to these kids. And that's it. All right.
Thanks, Josh.
Our clips are going to get really short because we're getting younger. I'm Laura Larkin. I'm a 1st grade teacher at Enfield. And what you're about to see is my class my 1st grade class unpacking a writing piece for an opinion writing based on their BAT research. You'll see just the very beginning, but we do progress on longer, but you've seen a bit of the full thing already. You'll see my students say you'll actually hear them say lights, camera, action. And if you're able to see them at that point in the video, you'll see them all touch their brain, kind of like we are in this picture. That's because we've taught them that the action part of it is active learning, active listening, active participation in your learning. And then you'll also see a quick, simple speaking listening protocol based on actually Austin's butterfly, which is kind of where Josh was coming from the apple. It's an expeditionary learning video that I used with my students to help them with those critiques and editing and learning the process of making their best better. Excited? Yes.
Do some editing. Remember Austin's butterfly? Anybody remember Austin's butterfly? Oh, lots of people remember Austin's butterfly. I'd like you to turn to your shoulder partner really quickly and review with them quickly. What was all about Austin's butterfly? What did Austin do? Lily's group is done. She's giving me her eyes. Megan and Chase are done. They're giving me their eyes.
The first time you did, it wasn't
Aubrey, is you doing your part right now? Nice job. Give me a thumbs up if you have a chance to share with your partner. Nice. Dominic, what did Austin do? What did you and Summer talk about?
Cindy made his best better.
He made his best better. We're going to do exactly that, my friends. Take a look over here. Lights, camera, action! We are going to, today we will, say it with me.
Today we will
edit our BAT paragraph.
edit our BAT paragraph.
Let's talk about what that's blank. Okay, we're going to edit our back paragraph.
What you saw there really goes back to our district prides itself, among many things, on engaging students and empowering students, and that's what this is pretty much all about. I've been lucky to see the progression both in my students and in my own teaching. A couple years ago, maybe about 4 years ago, I was making sure that my learning objectives, of course, and my lesson plan were good, but I was taking ownership of my learning objectives. My students wouldn't necessarily, well, of course they were learning, they might not be able to tell me exactly what would have been kind of written in my lesson plan. To last year, I started getting into it, getting involved. I just moved here, happened to work for another district, happened to be here now, but I worked in a school that did the modules, which is put on by Expeditionary Learning, the same program that we're working with. So I kind of dabbled into the I can statements of getting into posting objectives for students. And that worked for some students. And some students, they were able to read me the objective or respond it back, but they weren't internalizing it. They weren't taking that ownership. To now the state that we're at now, that a lot of my colleagues and myself have jumped into, the today we will, so they're actually getting into the what they're learning, the so we can, the why, the really important why are you learning this? What is the point in your life for gaining this knowledge? And the assessment piece, we know that we have it when. So all of our learning targets in my classroom are posted this way so that the students can know the what, the why, and be able to self-assess themselves of, did I get the job accomplished that I was aiming out to do today? We've had a lot of success with these, even with first graders. And it's been kind of exciting to see. I've started to have my students start creating the so we can, the why, really taking that ownership on their own. We took, with this BAT research, we took the so we can and I presented it to them. And what they came up with for me was that for that particular day, we were going to describe the habits, or describe where bats live and what they eat. And in fact, they left out the word bats. They said where they live and what they eat. So we had a lot of peer discussion. We did a lot of these get up and do some mingling things. There's lots of protocols where they can get up and move around to music, and then when the music stops, they start talking to the person they've landed next to. And with all of these discussions, the students themselves, the first grade students, were able to come up with the so we can that actually was saying, so we can describe bats' characteristics, habitat, and diet. They were able to pull in the vocab, they're knowing what it meant, and making that the why they were learning. And it was really exciting to see first graders, especially myself coming from third and fourth graders, to thinking of these little first grade minds be able to start creating that. In my classroom, we also do a lot of checks for understanding. What you'll see here is just a quick way that they can check their understanding at the end of a lesson. A lot of my colleagues have talked about different things. They can stick their puzzle piece in the I've got this at the end of the lesson. The could use a little more practice, please, or the help me, please, as soon as you can. We've talked about honesty, and they're honestly placing that so that we can hit their needs. Or a friend could even go over and help them. So it's been pretty powerful to see that happen. My wish to continue on is just to continue all this wonderful experiences I've had, and with my students. Anne has been phenomenal. She's full of resources. She's always giving back to us a lot. And I look forward to all of our staff meetings. Lisa's been giving us those protocols to practice with. She had a new one, Maitre D, the other day. That's actually my lesson plan for tomorrow to group kids in. And it's pretty exciting stuff to see our students grow, even first graders.
Excellent.
Now we have the little guys. We've been doing this in kindergarten. Imagine 20 busy little kindergartners doing EL. I'm Christina, and this is my first year not only at Ithaca but also with EL. So what you're going to see in my video is we're doing a speaking and listening protocol. If you've ever seen that many 5- and 6-year-olds in one room, it's hard not only to get them to talk to me, but to talk to each other with good eye contact,
talking about what I'm actually asking them to talk about. So you're going to see a video of them actually attempting this for one of the first few times we've tried it.
I can find and say the days of the week.
That's our learning target.
Working on. Stick your elbows up. I want you to find your elbow partners. Okay, stand up. Go back to back. Think about something. Remember, your back should be touching. Where you going? So our backs are touching. Right here. Put your thinking caps on. Think about what day of the week our number is going to go on. Think about what day of the week our number is going to go under. Wait, take a minute. Just think first. Just think first. Just think first to yourself. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, turn and face your partner. And in your whisper voices, talk to each other about what day you think our number is going to go under for our calendar. Right, in 3, 2, 1, I'm going to start calling groups to tell me what they think.
Okay, so during this, as you can see, I really try to have the kids looking at each other with their eyes, thinking about what I'm asking them, engaging in conversation, and then really thinking about what they're learning, not just my question, but why am I learning it? Again, we're going back to the purpose of why we're doing EL. So even at the kindergarten level, we've come a long way. Again, it's been a journey for me because I'm learning it as I'm teaching the kids. But my wish is that as we grow with the school learning more, that I can learn more speaking and learning protocols as well as checks for understanding so my kids can grow as much as I am. And I've enjoyed Anne. She's a wonderful resource. Like Lisa said, she'll come into the room and help guide you if there's a part that you want her to look at that you say, boy, I'm not really getting this. Do you have any ideas? She will get back to you, like Lisa said, pretty quick. If not in an hour, by the end of the day, I've heard back from her. She's given me some wonderful ideas, not only coming into the room and giving me ideas, but also on paper for me to take back and kind of process and think about. And I have to say for success, one of the things that caught me off guard, and actually Lisa was in the room for this, we were learning just our basic numbers. We were learning counting, and I asked the kids, why do you think we need to learn numbers? And one of my kids actually said, so we know how fast we're going, so we don't get a ticket. So for me, that was a pretty big moment. I'm learning them because you're asking me to learn them, or I'm learning them because I have to. I'm learning them so I don't get a ticket. So that was kind of just a powerful thing.
Thanks.
Great.
Yeah, so I'm just going to do a really quick wrap up. As I said, we're only a couple of months into this. So it would be interesting. I hope maybe you'll check in with us maybe in June and see where we've gone. I really want to thank the teachers. It's pretty brave to volunteer to come here when you're just learning something yourself. And our videos aren't perfect, but we tried our best to try to give you an idea of what we're trying to accomplish with our kids. But as I said, we've got big plans, and I wish I had done this slide and said all students and teachers, because this is what I want. Like Anne said, one of her pieces of advice when talking to board is make sure that you know what, if you could name your top 5, Lisa, what would they be? So I want all students and teachers who work at Enfield to be able to talk about what they're learning and why it's important. I want all students and teachers giving kind, helpful, and specific feedback to the peers and colleagues. I want all students and teachers leading conversations about their learning, steps they've taken, and what it is they think they need to do to improve.
And this is a big one, and I know the district is working hard on it, and my teachers some of them are involved in the curriculum work. I want all students and teachers engaged in relevant, rigorous learning, taking on roles of experts, experiencing real-world impact of learning. And of course, we want everybody engaged in celebrations. And every once in a while, this year I hope to give pause, not just in June, just to recognize how far we've come in 10 weeks or 20 weeks. So thanks for having us, and maybe we'll see some of you next Wednesday.
Great. Questions, Laura, go ahead.
Start early, start at 8.
Lisa, when is the
learning walks? We stagger them, so some start right at 8, and then there's like 2 sessions in the morning and 1 in the afternoon. I can send the information and get it to you, so maybe you could pick one.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, it won't take. You won't be there all day. You kind of do it for like maybe like an hour.
Sure, that'd be great.
I want to thank you so much. I've been on the board less than 6 months now, and there have been times when I wonder, what did I get myself into, and why did I get myself into it? Particularly when we're faced with challenges that don't have easy solutions, like how to find the money to attract and retain high-quality teachers. I'm seeing many of them sitting right here. But this presentation took me back to the mid-'80s when I started to teach in this district. And I had come from another district. I'd been there for 6 years. I won't name it. But when I arrived here very early on, I became involved in a collaborative effort that was teacher-led, K through 12. It was called the Ethical Writing Project. And that was something that engaged and empowered teachers. And our superintendent at that point had brought in the English department chair, who had a really strong background and interest in the teaching of writing. And there were, at this point, really new movements in the teaching of writing. And so the superintendent said to Ken, you know, I want you to spearhead a movement, and I'll give you some money to do it. Wasn't a lot of money, but he put together a group of people that were K-12 teachers to talk about, read about, share, run workshops, and learn about new directions in the teaching of writing. And it's stuff that I was seeing in these videos, which was very new then in a lot of classrooms. Kids sitting, kindergartners doing peer response, third graders writing persuasive essays. This was something that was very, very new. And it was engaging and empowering for the teachers, engaging and empowering for the students. I see the work has continued and grown, and it really is spread through the curriculum, which even then was an idea that we had, but it was an idea that wasn't an easy one to sell and perpetuate. So I see presentations like this, and it makes me want to teach again, makes me want to be part of that kind of collaborative effort where you as a teacher feel like you're learning and growing as you watch your kids learn and grow. So thank you.
Come visit us. You're welcome anytime. Come hang out with our kids.
Yeah, I wanted to mention something. I noticed a lot of parallels. Well, first of all, it's really cool stuff you're doing, especially in the third grade video, Josh. Great name, Josh. Also, the peer editing that you guys were doing with third graders, I TA a journalism class with 7th and 8th graders, and they're doing similar things. and they respond to it much better when they edit their own papers than when I give them similar feedback. And I think it's great that people are learning that as young as 3rd, 2nd grade, because that would have been cool if I did that back then. And it's just great work. And teaching is hard. I'm bad at it. You guys do a great job. Anybody you can teach, it's really good.
Ann, Chris, Ann, go ahead.
I would say thanks so much for coming, and I loved getting that little glimmer of insight into your classrooms, and I'm also hoping to visit when you do your walkthrough. And I guess the thing that I'm finding very exciting is that the process that you're going through, and the fact that you're kind of learning as you go and continuing to evolve. And I was curious whether or not the videos are kind of part of it. Or do you watch these yourself and say, oh yeah, how did that go? But I just kind of wonder if that's a good part of the tool. But I really enjoy seeing what you're thinking about, so I appreciate it.
Chris, go ahead.
Yeah, definitely deal to what Ann said, because you can see you guys evolving with it. But my question, a few of you said the kids own their own learning. And so what does that look like and what does that mean? And I doubt they're really aware that they're owning it because it would be work. So when you say they own their own learning.
Josh.
Go ahead. No, teachers. Josh is fine.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I guess in the sense that they own their own learning is we've talked a lot about like why we're doing things, so kids can also speak to the real world application, and also in the sense of honesty, and that it's okay to make a mistake and it's okay to fail, because failure actually leads to something better, a better final product. So we do a lot of debriefing sessions, and we do a lot of evaluation at the end of lessons where kids are able to rate how well they understood the process and how well the project actually looks. And I think we're at a point, at least in my class, where kids are okay saying, not only, I did really great, I totally understand the lesson, but kids are coming up to me and they're saying, okay, I know what my target was, I didn't meet my target, I need more help meeting this objective, so later I can do this. I don't know if that answers it. I guess somebody else can.
Do you see the fear factor diminish since you're saying failure is part of the process?
No. I mean, like, I guess
the fear factor.
The fear factor. I thought you said the failure factor.
No.
No, we fail all the time. But yeah. I mean, especially working with the same group of kids as last year, I think that everybody's just kind of in this together and attacking it and working to put forth their best work. And
it's never perfect the first time.
Yeah, exactly.
I got to tell a funny story because I was in Josh's room. He did this adventure math lesson. He has an anti-math student boy, and at the end he said very bravely to his class, so how did you feel about this? They all got their cards, right? So brave moment, they all got their cards. How did you feel about this lesson, this kind of learning? And I'm, you see mostly the sea of green, and I'm looking at the math student, and he's like getting his cards, and he holds up a yellow.
Oh, that's good.
And I thought, you know what? That's a big step. That's a big step.
It's not an orange.
But it was good. They're getting feedback from the kids all the time, too.
I think instead of it being one teacher in the room, or if you're co-teaching, 2 teachers, of course, in the room, it's more of there's many teachers, we're all learners, and that's kind of been the shift. All of the students are also teaching their peers and learning with their peers, and it's more collaborative on all levels. It's more of that team-based effort in the classroom, making it more cohesive. So I think that's been a big change.
And I can even say on the kindergarten level, for my kids, they're even starting to ask each other for simple things like if we're coloring something or writing numbers. Well, gee, is that your best work? And they're actually asking each other's work. So even at the kindergarten level, they're starting to take on ownership of each other's and their own work, for that matter.
So there's accountability factor.
Yes,
in there
but
as
it's
well.
more from them than even from me. I think they're harder on themselves sometimes than we could ever be on them.
Peer pressure in kindergarten. Hey,
I'm curious about the feedback thing, which I've never really observed before. So is this a new approach? It's like holding up the red card or the green card, or this chance to kind of say, well, I really actually didn't understand it. And then is this part of the innovation of this approach to have this way for you to know where they're at?
Well, I think
I think it's you, the teacher. It's assessment for you. It's on the spot assessment. It's better than a test. Especially when kids have bought into it, they'll give you honest feedback, and it doesn't take too long. But then the other hand is, it's them self-advocating and being able to say about themselves where they feel that they are. So it serves both them, and it serves a classroom culture, as Josh and Christine spoke to, but it serves you as the assessor as well.
we're hoping it catches kids quicker. So like instead of waiting till the end of the lesson, or like you said, the test or the quiz, like doing it more throughout the lesson. It's called the formative assessment piece. We'll catch them when they struggle quicker, and instead of waiting. And not every kid is comfortable. I need help, Mr. Drazen. So like doing something like a card or a signal or something for some of our less, what I would say, verbal or kids who haven't yet learned to advocate or feel bad when they still feel bad when they don't know something. The checks for understanding, I think, are helpful.
I think especially in 5th grade, so many kids have that sense of only I'm going through this. Like you're all doing fine, and it's just me that can't that doesn't understand this. And I think that's a real feeling. So I think to again develop that culture where I'm okay, you're okay. so that's a good thing. That's a really good thing.
It's very real. Yeah. No, it's very real. I would never ask for help. But, I would always sit in the back, and I would never ask for help. Yeah, because I don't do that. No, exactly. And I'll figure it out later probably, but not actually ask and verbalize. I'm not getting any of this.
I think the long-term goal is ultimately, again, so kids can present to their communities, to their parents, to say, this is what I've learned, this is where I didn't do so well, this is an area I'm working on for next quarter. So it's not the teacher saying, you need to work on this, you got to work on this, you got to F in this, you got to G in this. But the kid can self-assess to a public audience beyond their classroom, and that really feels like a huge,
That's a life skill.
Yeah. Laura, I interrupted, but go ahead.
That's okay, but to sort of piggybacking off, that's a life skill that we want for all of our students when they're off in college and beyond. I mean, we got to go past college, obviously, and we need to go to real life. In real life, you got to be able to self-assess yourself. If you have something you're struggling with, you got to know what to do about it, not just wait for someone to try to tell you or that sort of thing. So this is starting young, and it's helping them build that confidence and be rigorous with yourself so that you can grow.
Very good.
Yeah, I love the put it up on the chart and the target how I'm doing, and what I'm sitting there thinking is that when they get to your classroom, how much easier it's going to be. They're already into that self-assessment and ready to say to you, oh, I'm not sure I got it. I can see where the progression can go. It's great. So now, of course, I have to ask the resource question. What resources are there? I mean, there's a consultant here. I assume we're paying for that. What needs to be continued there? See, Matt's going to end. And I was going to ask the time question too. I mean, clearly there's a lot going on between you, conversations, and curious.
The Red Sea is parted apparently.
Yeah. One of the things that we did want to put the focus on tonight is Enfield was designated as a local assistance plan school again this year by the state, and that's about achievement gaps on state tests. We're actually going to but we're going to share that plan with the board in the next 1 or 2 board meetings. We wanted the focus instead to be on this amazing work that's happening. That being said, Liddy mentioned that right now we're paying for this with Title II money, so federal PD money. Because of the local assistance plan designation, this year the state offered up, which is, they don't usually do this, but there's a grant. And so Lisa and Lynn Vanderwert put a fair amount of time in, to be honest, over Thanksgiving break to get this thing done for the deadline, but they submitted a grant for $20,000 with the state to continue this work. If we don't get the grant, our goal is to figure out how to obviously keep it going.
Put that in our PD
we don't want to lose that momentum, but we feel that this has a very good shot at getting the state's approval, because we think that's what the state is looking for with something like this. So in terms of sustainability for Enfield, we really want to commit to this for several years at least. I was actually a principal of a school when I was a principal that did work very similar to this, and I think a good 3 or 4 years at the minimum, you really start to see the changes, Brad, that you were just talking about, that you see over years. So I also just, while I have the stage for a second, want to thank the teachers at Enfield and Lisa for kind of over the last year or two persistently asking for, we're ready. Like free up the money, we want to do something more. That was coming from the teachers, and then Lisa, for your persistence in making sure over the summer that this indeed happened and got in place. And for the teachers and staff coming in a day early, which was really, I think, which got this whole thing started. So thank you all.
And I guess that was one of the resource questions, was summertime. Are we planning on 2 days, 3 days, whatever, for the faculty there to continue this? And where's that in our PD budget?
Future conversation, but you described much of what we're thinking right now. I see it.
Okay, I appreciate it.
Yeah, I wanted to add my admiration for what you're doing for the kids, for the really great atmosphere you're creating in all of your classrooms, the collaborative atmosphere. And I don't think it can be stressed enough, this idea that it's okay not to be perfect at the start and to just keep saying, I want to learn this, I'm not so good at this, I'm going to work a little harder, and have that be a safe thing, because one of the places where we see the gaps when kids get older is kids who just get discouraged and shut down, and it's like, okay, I'm not going to ask. And I work with college students who can't ask for help, and it's and the idea that if you don't get something right the first time, your whole world's going to fall apart. Oh my gosh, I'm going to get a B, my life is over, and these are not healthy mindsets, and they keep kids at all levels from enjoying learning. And I know we all love enjoying learning. You all love enjoying learning. Thank you for your energy. Thanks for bringing this in. Is there interest from other schools? Are there plans to send this out and adapt this?
I do believe that there are other schools, and I'm in contact with other principals who are we're talking about these practices and sort of how to infuse them. They've been around, they're part of the curriculum work that a lot of teachers are engaged in. So when they go to do the curriculum work, if they haven't already, they're going to hear things like, what's your learning target? So, we're kind of going through it. I always say to my teachers, kind of in the back door, and that we're laying the foundation so that when the rich and the meat and the curriculum come our way, we'll have these down. And also we have it with younger kids where they don't have modules yet. So they're creating their own targets based on K1 and 2.
Really just so much engagement, and again, when these kids go into your classrooms, teaching's going to become more of a pleasure. And just again, kudos to all of you for being willing to be rated by critics every time.
Critics.
I taught for years. I taught at the college level, and the idea that you're putting yourself to, okay, how am I doing today? Boy, talk about APPR. That's you don't have anything to worry about, and I'm actually not surprised that the kids are so set such high standards, because one of the things I was learning in my evolution as a teacher was let go of the top down and see where it gets you. And I did a course called Behavior and Control: Historical Perspectives. Walked in the first day and said, okay, you know what? We're doing behavior and control. You write the syllabus, not now. You write the class expectations, and stuff that I thought was incredibly harsh. So this is what we expect of our peers, and if you've missed a day, you have to go and stand in front of the class and tell us why you missed a day. and I would tell this to my colleagues, you have to force them to do this, and I was like, no, tap into that energy. And I've learned valuable lessons here today, because look how early you can do it.
Well, and to go back to your failure, what you were talking about with that, there's a great saying that Lisa mentioned in the beginning of her conversation that I actually have posted in my classroom that I do share with the kids often, because I think it's great that Anne taught us, and that failure is only an opportunity to begin again. So when somebody gets upset about making a mistake, I just point to that and I say, remember what we talked about.
Yeah.
And it's, it really helps them to think about, okay, the world's not ending if I don't get my letter right the first time, or, if I don't do this right the first time.
And in the real world, not that I've ever really been in the real world, because I've always been in a college, but I have children in the real world, and my younger daughter, proud ICSD grad, is at Northeastern, where you go out and do co-ops, and she's doing engineering, and that's like, if you're always having to figure stuff out on the job, often collaboratively, and you don't know how to do it, right? Because if you keep doing the same thing, you don't innovate. She's in the business world, she's making things, and nobody's afraid of failing there. There's like, okay, we'll try it. If we don't try it, we'll go back and try it another way, and it's positive. And it's taught her a lot of things that, when she was in elementary school, she didn't learn as much. And I think this is a really, really great direction. Even though she had wonderful teachers, it was just a different approach.
It's all about making your best better. That's what my kids kind of chant every morning.
Wow.
It's all about making our best better.
I should take that with me to work.
I'm going to.
I know. I feel overwhelmed. Anything else from the board? It's getting late. You guys do a great job, and I won't keep any longer.
You got to do it again soon.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So we appreciate it. Lisa, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Great job.
Thanks, Enfield. You're good, Lisa. You don't have to move the chairs, Lisa.
I might have to clean the eraser.
We have one more item on the school district business board vacancy. We have 3 tonight, but we really only need to talk about one. We do have to come up with a strategy, or at least a plan on what we will do regarding Judy Maxwell's vacancy. Those who should be aware, Judy Maxwell did resign and has moved out of state. So we are a 9-member board with 8 members. We are a 9-member board for a reason. There's voices from the community that we try to reach. Committee assignments, liaison assignments. We've been down this road before. We've had board numbers that were 8 or functionally 7 at one time, with board members that were not here that much. We soldiered on and to the next election. It's really at this point, I think we have to consider carefully whether we wish to appoint someone to fill the seat until next May. We do have a lot going on. There are serious decisions that need to be made, but we need to make a decision fairly soon. It won't be tonight because we're not all here. So we really need everyone here to make that final determination. But
should we review what the 3 choices are? Just
sure.
Yes.
May I?
That was a layup for the policy.
Folks. Oh, policy. So just for public knowledge, the 3 options that we have would be to hold a special election and use district funds to pay for that election simply to elect another board member. Our second option would be to appoint a 9th board member, and I think there's really no one set of rules to go about that. We could draw a name out of a hat. We could have people say that they're interested and we could choose one, or we could go to the results of the last election and take the next highest vote getter, or we could go on as an 8-person board until the next elections in May.
Correct.
Just the recent history that I've been a part of, I don't think anyone's ever shown enthusiasm for spending money to hold a special election.
Seat?
No. So that I don't think anyone will entertain, especially in this day and age, this fiscal reality. I actually came on the board after an election in which there were only 8 seats, because that year I was the top vote getter and was told when I won that I had to start immediately, and no one had told me that. And it took me aback, but I did it, and it's been a pleasure. Then we have had, and so that was just left vacant. We did have another situation in which, when Seth Peacock stepped down, we had only 8 members, and then when we had the next election, we filled 4 positions. So
Correct.
That's been our precedent, and I've been party to and an observer of discussions in which various mechanisms for finding an additional board member were floated, and I have not seen any of those adopted.
Well, under the last time there was an open seat that was left open, how long was the period of time from when Seth resigned?
It was
in
no, it was
May?
about close to a year, wasn't it? Because he resigned
He
in
had to
like
run.
July. He ran in May.
Well, he was appointed.
Was appointed.
He was appointed first and then ran in the election.
Right, so he
Yeah,
was
so-
appointed, and he had to step down when he was appointed.
That was soon after, actually, that was soon after an election.
So it was close to a year.
Yeah, and not all that long ago, someone we know was appointed. Rob was originally.
Really?
No, I was not.
I thought you were appointed.
That was actually a very interesting board meeting.
I thought you were appointed.
They voted me to be appointed, then they went in the back room, then they decided to change.
No, I don't recall that. Yeah.
And
I thought they voted to appoint you. So.
and then they
10 years
appointed.
ago.
Well, then they appointed she at the library. She was a
no,
former board
yeah,
member.
yeah.
Right. A former board member was.
I must have gone home after
Because I was obviously too radical for this at that point.
It was 10 years ago. My memory fades.
Yeah.
My other question would be that from people who've had this experience of being on an 8-person board is, what were the implications? I mean, I think it'd be a problem for committees.
It's committee work.
Yeah.
It's we had I guess mainly we had a pretty veteran board that had worked together all through superintendent transition and everything else, and pretty much knew how to work together, and we could cover most everything we could cover. So I think it's really
It's a group decision.
It's a group decision.
I mean, you're gonna have, committees are gonna have to potentially serve on yet another committee, liaison to another building, or.
It means I do more. I go to finance anyway.
So
Judy was on finance. What's one of the reasons Judy's on? Well, I suppose.
So he can.
So I would probably just pick up finance. I would probably pick up Enfield as the liaison school since I live out that way.
I have
Things
picked
like
up Boynton.
Yeah,
right.
So I mean, that's what happens. You've got to fill in other spots.
Right. It's really, as I said before, we are a 9-member board, and to answer some of the questions, we are a 9-member board, and our quorum is 5, and it takes 5 votes to pass anything. So we still work with that number, regardless if we have 6 members show up or 5 members show up and we have a quorum. It takes 5 votes to pass to do any business for the district. So that does not change. It's a majority of 9. So that metric, that doesn't change at all. It's really, we're a 9-member board, partly to represent a very diverse community and try to bring as many voices and good, honest, well, honest isn't the word, good, great input into the board, into the discussion, into the running of the district, doing what we have to do. Chris, go ahead.
If we, just asking, if we were to go to the highest vote getter, how does that go into the next election? They have to run again.
Yeah.
They're just, whoever.
They're just temporary.
They would just be filling the role until the next election,
Yes,
right?
I'm just asking. So,
But
Judy's seat would have been up in the next election?
Yes.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, so they'd be running for a full term.
For a full term.
right, and I think the highest, Pat, if I'm not mistaken, the highest vote getter would immediately take
Yes.
the office,
Yes.
because that's what happened to me, because
Right, whoever was appointed.
I wasn't appointed, but then I was.
If they weren't the highest vote getter, they would actually be off the board and the highest vote getters.
For a month or two.
For 6 weeks, yeah.
So wait, silly question. How you said one term? How long is the term?
3 years.
Okay. I knew that.
In dog years, it's
It's a lot longer than dog years.
To improve and learn.
3-year terms. Yep. Privileged to serve, and always happy to do so.
Well, we got 2 people missing tonight, so we shouldn't be
we
decide anything tonight.
Right, exactly, and I think Chris, well, you're
Just saying.
more. Any other thoughts?
If it's, I agree with Brad. We have 2 people missing. I think it's when we make decisions like this, everyone should be present. So their experience or lack of experience, but their opinion and matters. I'm not. No one says they feel comfortable going with a special election, so I think that's off the table.
And I'll just add, if my personal preference, if we are going to fill the position now, I have never been comfortable with the idea that, we were all elected to the board by popular vote, and I have never been comfortable with the idea that 8 remaining people would just pick someone from the community. So my preference is, if we want to fill that position, we go to the recent election, and
it was recent, and there were 4 other candidates. So
that's true.
Yeah,
Good point.
that would be my preference if we wish to fill. I've worked with 2 8-person boards. I don't see that as a major problem, but I would like to hear what other people say.
I don't like putting extra work on other people, so the fact that other folks are taking up, and you guys have broad shoulders, and I appreciate it, but having you pick up other liaison work and committees is not.
And the next highest vote getter again was?
I have the results here.
I think it was Eldred
Harris.
If that is indeed how you do it, that Eldred was
the next highest.
Well, he came in 5th. Fifth, right?
Yeah, because we filled 4.
Right, exactly. So.
And I'll just state that my wish to go that way has solely to do with the popular vote. And it would be, I would say, if we wanted to do that, go on down the list until we get someone who wants to come on the board now.
Things are so easy.
I like a full board. Just makes me feel comfortable.
Well,
right. Just to make Chris happy.
Yeah.
From what I understand, it's not going to create any more work for me personally to be on an 8-person board. So.
Well, you put it that way.
Because everybody else is
yeah. So no one has asked me to do any more.
I'm hoping to put more work on somebody. So.
Yeah. So,
So.
Position to be discussed when hopefully we have everyone here.
So
and Judy was on finance and what was her other committee?
Curriculum.
Curriculum.
No, she wasn't.
HR?
No, it was HR.
She did come to HR. Yeah. So
curriculum.
Right
there was
now,
HR and finance.
And
right now
I would say I would be willing to do HR, another committee. I would be willing to do that.
a lot of committees. I did stop by PTA Council today just to I guess Brad was there too, so it took 2 of us to just to make one Judy Maxwell. So it's
Exactly. I think he's saying you have big shoes to fill.
well, I think that's that probably is my point. So you know, Judy Max did a lot, was everywhere. So it's there's a hole there. I think that's the big thing. There's a hole as far as the board and the community whole, as far as experience and expertise that Judy brought to the table. So, but we can't resurrect Judy to that position. So
we tried to stop her.
Chris is still trying.
I like the term resurrection.
She's not dead.
She moved to Michigan.
Well, she's gone to Michigan, so it's the same thing basically. But Chris did not accept Judy's resignation. I will point that out again. That he voted against it and does not accept it. So
I acknowledge it.
acknowledged it, but does not accept it.
Was that a sick Michigan burn?
Yeah, it was just, it's okay.
It's not really so much where she moved to, it's where she moved from. We miss her dearly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Michigan's a fine state.
We just rather her stay here.
Exactly.
Well, I think that's what. I mean, what do they have that? Anyway.
I'm going to say lower property taxes.
It's probably.
But so does every state. So.
So really, I think 2 choices: we leave it open, or if we do appoint, it looks like we'll go to the past election and go from that list. So it's a short list, but I think we need to have a conversation with the full board. I would think at the next board meeting we need to make decisions regarding this as soon as possible. So we'll have it on the agenda. So I'm certainly narrowing it down. Hopefully everyone understands where we are and what we need to do and what we're legally obligated to do. And frankly, just one way or the other, what are we going to leave it open or fill it? So we'd like to just make that clear to the community, and we'll make that clear next time. So hopefully everybody will be here, but we can't put it off forever. So don't miss the next meeting. But unfortunately,
December 22nd.
Unfortunately, the next meeting is Christmas week, I believe.
Yes.
For some reason, we're in Thanksgiving week and Christmas week, and not quite sure how that worked out, but I'm around, so it'll be.
I'll be here with
I don't
We
know.
went down to the 1st and 3rd. Yeah, because it's either.
Last year we were the 1st and 3rd week, November, December, but this year we're not.
It's probably better to do the 22nd than the week between Christmas and New Year when.
No, we're not going to do that.
The buildings are closed.
Yeah, that's.
The buildings are closed and many people are taking.
There's no heat, so the buildings are closed. Yeah, it's not good. So Chris, go.
I move we adjourn.
Second.
I think,
I just said it.